Beautiful, isn't it? The River Towy here in South Wales, meandering its way down through the valley, starting some 60 miles up there in the Cambrian Mountains and another 4 or 5 miles on its journey into Carmarthen Bay. What makes the Towy so famous? It's sea trout, and that's what we're here for, the big sea trout. Every river has a few sea trout around here, but not as big as the ones you get here in the Towy. Joining me today, a very good old friend of mine, rugby legend Gareth Edwards, who also knows this river like the back of his hand. Fished it for years and years and years. He and I are going to have a bit of fun and a lot of competition, but I reckon he might just be, because he's competitive, having a little head start down there and checking out the pools. And I'll guarantee you one thing, if he spots the fish, he'll be sending me to another pool. So you've been fishing here for donkey's years now. I daren't say 40 or 50 years, Gareth, because you give me some stick. But you've been fishing here for years. Tell me just what makes the Towy so special?
I think the run of sea trout, no doubt about it. In years gone by, it also was, as a combined salmon and sea trout river, one of the best in Britain. Still has a fine run of sea trout. Salmon less so. Most of the salmon now, we get some summer salmon, but probably late end, back end run. But God, I mean, it's worth any amount of money just to sit here, isn't it?
It's beautiful,
and think about the fishing. I think she's been a majestic river over the years. Just below us there, just where those swans are, is a pool where the record fish for the Towy was caught, maybe a good few years ago. In the 30s, I think, a 50-odd pounder.
You didn't have that one?
I didn't get that one. There's one or two people said there's a fish just as big gone past.
Yeah.
We're still looking for that. But no, I think, you know, the Towy is synonymous with suin, and big suin, as we just said. Thank you, Mr. Botham.
So it's like all the backs, they always needed a good pack in front to get them there. We've had many great sporting moments between us, wonderful moments that you remember, you know, the Arms Park, or whether it's at Lord's or whatever. But how does a big fish on the line at night on the Towy rate?
Up there with anything I've ever done. I was heavily criticised many years ago when Cliff Morgan interviewed me. We were in the middle of the Usk, up to my knees in water, casting away, and Cliff asked me the same question, or similar question. He said, what would you rather do? Would you rather catch a salmon or score a try for Wales? And I didn't hesitate. I said, oh, no question about it. I'd rather catch a salmon. And God, like, people wrote in, rang in. How can you ever want to say that? But of course, they'd never caught a salmon. And
no.
you know, Beefy,
yeah.
that pull on the line. And similarly, at night, you know, I think this is what's intriguing about it. You're fishing by touch. Your eyesight gets a bit better as, you know, focuses. But that tug, that anticipation for a start, the old heart's beating, and then that tug on the line, there's nothing like it. I suppose it's like you striking the boundary, striking the ball to the boundary for 100, and me scoring in the corner last minute to beat England.
Is that good?
It's that good. I hooked a fish up here a couple of years ago with a fly rod. It had to be 12, 14 pound. God alive. And I lost it right at the death.
Oh.
But I had memory lives with me forever, you know, because it's such a small little pool. I thought, oh, I'll just cast in here and have a bit of practice. Whoa! Big pull, big fish. A lot of swearing, big loss.
All right, Gareth, tonight, what are we doing? Where are we going?
Well, this is all part of the famous Abercrombie Estate fishery. This is the junction beat, and that's the Abercrombie beat. In actual fact, this is the boundary with Abercrombie.
Right.
And it's got lots of lovely deep little glides and good back end pools. I've had years and years of great fun there. I hope you will have a night to remember. Well,
I've got just a little something here in my pocket that's just a little memento. And well, Gareth, there's no excuses. There's just a little token of my gratitude, as it says, to Gareth Edwards on fishing the River Towy for myself and the Donegal Fly Fishing Company. And the boys down there, and you know that part of the world well, just put this together and there you go.
Oh, my word.
And there's a little array.
Ian Botham. If we don't catch fish with these, we'll never catch fish. Thank you, Beefy. Great.
Tight
Thank
lines,
you. Super.
tight
Yeah,
lines.
they're beautiful.
Rivers and streams change their shape and character all the time, and it's essential to have some local knowledge. Cyril Fox, who's been a ghillie for over 20 years, joins us to advise us on where and how we should approach these waters.
It's difficult wading, so just try and watch my tracks, eh?
What we're trying to do here is, because I don't know the river, and Gareth, of course, has been brought up on the Towy, and he's just showing me, all right, we're probably really, it's what, 8:30 now, so we're probably a good 2.5 hours away before we really start fishing heavily. But he's just having a run down, just showing me where to go and where the lies are. You have a little hole over there, you have a ledge that's running down, which I'm sure your camera will pick up. And then over the ledge, there's a run, and it's sandy bottom, and that's where the sea trout. And there will be sea trout in there now, but you know, if you pick one up this time, that's a real bonus. But they do tend to run in shoals, and you can quite often see them stacked up on the river, from the river bank when the water's clear, and it's not as clear as it could be at the moment. But that again might work a little bit in our favour later on. But no, they tend to run in shoals, big numbers sometimes, and you tend to get a pecking order. When you see the fish underneath the bridges, you tend to see the big boys at the front, and then you sort of go in size back down the line. So, that's the fun of it. You don't quite know where they are and when they are.
Oh. I had something showing interest then.
Trout or sea?
I think it probably was a small trout, but you can never say. It could have, Suing could have just, you know, taken up short on it. All I'm really trying to do now is to get Ian used to wading in what is pretty difficult terrain. I want to fish this very lightly because I think there's a good chance of taking a fish here tonight. I'm using small flies at the moment because it's pretty much daylight. And really, most of them are little traditional flies. It's confidence with any fly you put on. I've caught fish with them before, so I'm hoping I can catch fish with them again. And but really, we've gone for very small flies, and this is your best chance when water is very low and in daylight. There hasn't been any activity. I would have liked to have seen some fish move, and then you can actually fish for them. All we've really done now is get the flies into the lie, strip pretty quickly, and just hope one of the fish would react. But they're a bit reluctant at the moment, but as I said, I want to keep it really until the light goes tonight. That's perfect.
It's just nice to get the distance.
Yeah.
So I know where it is on the line now, all the way down here.
Yeah, yeah. I think we should leave it for later on.
Yeah.
Mm?
Absolutely. I know where I'm going now. Thank you.
You know, it fascinates me, in the years that I've fished for sea trout, you know, is the different types of flies and the different size of flies. You've just said it, Ian, about catching sea trout with small flies, traditional small flies, which I still do. But, you know, you can go from a small sort of size 14 up to, like you said, something 2 or 3 inches long there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when I used to fish sea trout, and the sea trout fishing I've done, it's always been little doubles or little singles. And I come down here and you guys, you know, immediately are telling me I want something bigger.
Well, I'm going to start off with a small fly. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be fine for the first hour, right? But an hour, about 11 o'clock, we begin to the large 2 flies, right? And this is the type of fly we're using at night.
These are sparrows, these are not flies,
Well,
Cyril?
Yeah.
No, but they're very effective, I know.
Very effective,
Yeah.
especially with jungle cock
With
as
a
well.
little jungle cock.
Yeah.
Flies.
And this is for later as well, Cyril, is it?
Later, yes.
As it gets darker.
It's got to be really dark for that one.
All right, so
Yeah.
we'll leave that until later.
Yeah.
We're a little way from that now. We'll pick something else up.
I need glasses to have a look at these.
It's a very nice colour as well.
Just as well Maureen's left them in the car.
With the help of Maureen's glasses, we finish our preparations and wait for the light to finally fade. It's commonly known that anglers have many theories and opinions. One which is commonly held is the effect of light when night fishing for sea trout, whether it be a bright moon, a flash of light on the water's surface from a car headlight, or a carelessly used torch. All these can disturb the fish and affect the chances of a take. Although at times I've been known not to go by the book, when it comes to night fishing, I'm not going to take any chances. So we're all on total blackout and using night vision cameras.
The light's going nicely now, isn't it?
Just starting to. That little bit of anticipation just starting to.
There's a nice run. The fly's working nicely there, I think, isn't it?
Perfect.
This particular stretch on the Abercrombie estate, I fished this for probably 25, 30 years. And every time I used to come down, if I had the time, by the time I started on the top of it and walked quietly down to the bottom, all my worries, all my cares had vanished. And for me, that's fishing. Ian is a very, very good angler. But I think like lots of sports people, again, they've got coordination and determination and patience. Good anglers are people who are prepared to persevere, to try, and it's a little competitive. And the one trying to outdo the other. Even though there's a lot of fun in it, we're both determined to either get the biggest fish or get the most fish. Well, he's right over the mark.
Although the conditions are favourable, unfortunately the night proves tough going for both Gareth and I, and we're denied the sport of the sea trout.
What's he doing, Ian?
All right.
I thought you might very well have got a fish there on the change of the light, just as it was getting dawn, eh?
Wonderful, isn't it? Wonderful. Well, at least I lost one.
But isn't that fishing?
Oh, that's fishing.
Too high, too low?
My missus
Too bright.
she finds it highly amusing. She says to me, "Oh, what was it today? Too high? Too low?
No.
Too coloured?"
Come on, let's give it another go tomorrow.
A lot of life.
Wow, a few fish have shown on there, you know. I mean, I'm getting a bit twitchy and excited.
Well, you saw at the end of the first half of the show that we said we're coming back tomorrow. Well, we went back tomorrow. That was tomorrow last year. And I have to say, it was pretty dour, wasn't it?
Well, unfortunately, and as you know, the season per se wasn't that good. It was one of the poorest sea trout seasons we've had. We had a good end of the season with the salmon. But I'm led to believe we've had a rise of water a couple of weeks ago and it's brought some fish in, so I'm very hopeful tomorrow, this year.
So we are back. It's a year down the line. That happens with fishing though, and if we knew we were going to catch it, it'd be no fun. So we're back here, fingers crossed. As Gareth says, we had a 3-foot rise of water about a week ago. It's settled down nicely and fish have been caught. And if I don't get one, I know who will.
Thanks.
I'm pleased to be back to get a second chance at the elusive sea trout. Again, we wait for the light to fade and Cyril, the local ghillie, joins us to give advice and encouragement. Gareth's always been a keen angler and started fishing well before his rugby career. Although this would be my first sea trout in the Towy, it certainly won't be his.
You always remember the first salmon you catch. I remember how proud I was. I wanted to show everybody in the village. But but I also, the first eel I caught, the first trout I caught, I remember running all the way home. I could have only been about 5, 6 years of age. I caught the first eel and I made my mother skin it. She'd never forgiven me for that, even though it's a long, long, long time ago. And I actually made her cook it. And as she reminds me today, she said, Gareth, it wasn't wider than the lace for your shoes, she said. But I thought it was the best fish I'd ever seen. And I suppose you always look upon your first fish like that. The first trout that I ever caught, I couldn't wait to get it back, put it in the frying pan. I suppose every time I go fishing is the best and most memorable time that I've ever had fishing, because I can't have enough of it. Well, things are a bit more exciting than they were last time.
Gareth shares his passion for night fishing on the Towy with many an angler. One of the most successful is Max James. In the past, he has been known to fish the Towy as much as 7 days a week, and if that wasn't enough, he was also bailiff here for 23 years.
We never fished until it was dark, and I mean, people used to say, oh, you can start fishing when you see the first bat. Of course, you'd see the bats, but I always waited that extra quarter or half an hour. If you want big sea trout, then you've got to be able to go into the river, cast 45 degrees downstream, and you fly land the other side of the river. You make one mend so that the fly sinks at the far bank. Now, that's the way to catch big fish. Slow and steady. They want a chance to have a look at that fly before they come up and take it. Whenever I go down a stretch of river and I fish a fly, I might catch 4 sea trout. At the end of the pool, I'll come out and I'll always change the fly. And the reason for it is this, that in my opinion, if there's 30 or 40 fish in that pool and I've only caught 4, then the others didn't want that particular fly. So I change the fly.
It's extraordinary how passionate fishermen can be, and I put Gareth at the top of my list. In his rugby career, he created memorable moments that have gone down in rugby folklore. His single-handed determination made him formidable. Today, sitting here on the riverbank, in the middle of the night, you can still sense that determination. It's just that the opposition has changed.
The fascination of fishing is very much like sport. If you knew that every time you took to the field of play that you were going to win, it wouldn't be exciting. It would cease to become a challenge, and really I couldn't see the attraction. Every fisherman will tell you they do enjoy the tug on the line. They do enjoy catching the fish, but it's the challenge. It's actually making that fish take the fly. That's the fascination, and you're absolutely right. Nobody knows when that's going to happen. You can fish for the whole day without actually getting a tug on the line. And many of my friends say to me, how can you sit there all day? Well, you've got to go there and do it. You've got to have that sensation of when the line straightens out and there's a fish on the end of it. Even if the fish is only on momentarily, that millisecond that gives you make your heart skip a beat. Only people who've fished know what I'm talking about. You know, I had such an adrenaline rush there. Oh, I didn't stop shaking for about 10 minutes.
Was it a good fish?
Oh, yes. Yes, I really thought I was into it, Cyril.
Yeah, I thought you were.
Well, not I thought I was into it, because it came out of... Did you hear the reel scream?
Oh yeah, you're excited.
Yeah. The first pull was really... So... Can't hang on to them, pal.
It's difficult to explain it, but it doesn't... It very near... If it's a big fish, it takes the rod out of your hand. And as soon as he takes you downstream. He runs with the river downstream, and therefore you can't stop him. It's impossible. and the next thing your 30 yards of line is gone and you're down to the back in, and you say, oh, for God's sake, stop sometime. And the next thing, out of the water he comes, splash. That's the sound, and it's like a cow falling into the river. And you think, oh, is he going to be still on, you know? That anticipation.
Oh, there we are. I knew there was only the Towy. Yeah. Ah, not as big as one we hooked earlier, but
We have a
it's
sea
a fish.
trout. We have a sea trout.
We have a sea trout, don't we? Huh?
Take him in.
But it's a fabulous take.
Wasn't it?
Oh.
I saw the take.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that, about 2.5, 3? 2?
Yeah, it's about a good 2 pound,
Yeah.
2 and a bit pound, maybe 2.5.
Unfortunately, Gareth's sea trout had taken the fly so deep that we had no alternative but to keep this one for the table. It's something that I don't like to do, and I do very rarely, but sometimes you've got to do it in the interest of the fish and the river.
With a salmon, when you try and hold a salmon like that, you can hold it, but with a sea trout, it tends to go through. Okay, this is not as big as they normally are, because when the sea trout gets bigger, the tail becomes squarer. But how you tell a difference in the sea trout is there are more spots between the lateral line here and the anteposed fin. If I remember correctly, something between 11 and 13 on a sea trout, is it?
Yeah, that's right,
and 8 to 12 or 8 to 10 on a salmon. Yeah. And also
Position of the eye. Yeah.
the position of the eye here. And the sea trout is, again, God, my God, is in a straight line here.
With the jaw.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 ways to say it, but I know that's a sea trout because I know one when I see one.
We've been waiting long enough to see one.
well, Ian, this river has given me many, many hours of pleasure, you know, and this is the best quarry. At night, the peace and the tranquility here. It's a deathly silence apart from the barking of a few dogs, and yes, it gets eerie at times, but it's worth it for a fish like that.
There we go. And who said there was no fish in this river?
Well, it was reluctant to give its very best because there are some big sea trout, or suin as we call them down here. Yeah. But I hope it's just tantalised you a little and you'll be back before long.
Next week?
Anytime.
I'll be back.
We'll keep a welcome in the hillside for you.
Well, thanks a lot. It's a pleasure as always, and our patience and hard work has worked in the end. But and a bit of thanks to Cyril as well.
Absolutely.
We might go and have a farewell with him.